Welcome back to another episode of Life's Ambition Podcast. Today we are joined by someone who worked as a professor for many years. She's going to give her input on the intricacies of it and the critical thinking aspects a student learns. Without further ado, Fran Zollers.
Fran, how we doing?
Doing great, Drew. How are you?
I'm doing great. Been on this long journey of taking Accutane, and for anyone who's unsure of what that is out there, it's basically this drug that you take that helps dry your skin out. So a lot of people who have bad acne will take it to kind of reset all of their oil pores in their body. And so just finished taking that. Oh my goodness, it was probably one of the longest 10 months I've ever had of just doing it. So it's very nice to be all said and done.
Did it work?
It did work. So I will say had everyone goes through like different things. So I had chapped lips, really bad muscle aches, and then like my finger, like I would get ingrown nails pretty easily. But other than that, I wouldn't trade the experience for anything because you just feel so much more confident in your skin when you walk around and you do your daily life that I'd 100% say for anyone that is thinking about it, try it, do your research on it, 100%. But that's a little bit about me and what's going on right now. I'd love to know more about you and really figure out kind of your life's journey. I know you were a professor for a very long time, and I think that's such a fascinating world because I've always wanted to become a professor at some point. And so I just wanted to hear your experience of how you got into it.
All right then. Well, it was just completely random. Well, that's not quite true. But I fell into the job, which worked out great for me. So,
Nice.
and for those who, like you, Drew, who are interested, it is the best job in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I, universities are pretty snooty about qualifications for professors.
Hmm.
So if you're interested, Drew, you're probably going to have to go get a PhD somewhere
And why is that? Why do you need a
because they're
PhD?
snooty.
Huh. Is it just
And
because of the research aspect?
yes, there's three aspects to a professor's life: teaching, research, and service. And depending on your university, the teaching may be first or the research may be first in priorities.
Hmm.
In fact, that we even divide universities into R1, Research 1, Research 2, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So the feeling is you need a research degree to do that, and that's your PhD.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Now, my JD, my law degree, is considered a doctorate.
Oh.
So that was good. That was a long, I won't go into the details, and it's very much inside baseball stuff, but it was a long, drawn out, nasty battle in schools of business about
Really?
whether we were, real professors or not.
And that's just because you didn't have the official
We didn't
PhD,
have the PhD. And
which is interesting.
I would say, when I was feeling really crummy about this, I would say to my colleagues who would say, it's not a research degree. I said, I've written more papers and articles than you have.
Yeah. I mean, I had talked to a lawyer not too long ago, and just the framework of the way you guys write is just so different because it's very high level English and where all words very much matter. And so it's kind of like writing a research paper where
It's
everything you
exactly
write
like that.
matters. So 100% you would be writing way more, if not just as much as people in their PhD.
Well, and the other thing, because lawyers are essentially anal retentive, our articles have, I am not making this up, 100 to 250 footnotes.
Oh my. goodness.
Not making this up. Now,
Ah.
again, is it showing off? Probably. Um, but in any event, I look at my colleagues' paper trying not to be snarky. I look at my colleagues' 5 to 10 page papers with the occasional, um, what is their footnote convention? Their footnote convention, which is an author in a parenthesis with a date.
Yeah.
Our footnotes are as long as our papers. So that didn't impress them, but I tried to use it as the basis for saying, this isn't not research.
Yeah, well, you said that you kinda stumbled into becoming a professor. How did that happen?
Well, in my third year of law school, where I went to school, they selected I can't even remember how many, 10, let's say 10 third years to teach the first years their research and writing class, which is a requirement in law school.
Mm.
And so I was selected, and I had a section of the research and writing class. And we sort of had a faculty advisor, but we were in charge of what went on in that class. And I found that I really, really liked it and was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And the other thing I found was that this level of student, now I taught in business schools, not in law schools, okay?
Mhm.
But this level of student was a good fit for me. I had gone through what I guess every female goes through. I was going to be a kindergarten teacher, and then I was going to be a public high school teacher, and then wrong group. Turns out
Hmm.
I didn't do any of those things. But I hit this crowd, and I hit this level of engagement with students, and went, "This isn't bad." So I started. Here's the falling in part. I started applying for, after law school or in my third year, applying for teaching jobs in law schools, not to teach contracts or torts or any of that. They're not going to take a brand new graduate for that. But lots of schools had recent grads teach that research and writing class rather than third years. So I
Mm.
applied to those. But while that was in the works, and I never got any of those jobs, by the way. While that was in the works, I'm sitting in a class, my last year in law school, next to someone I know, not well, but I know. And he leans over to me and says, "Have you ever thought of teaching?" Not only thought about it, I'm doing it and I'm applying. He had a master's in what we used to call personnel and industrial relations. It's now HR.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and he had a master's in that, and he was teaching as an adjunct while he was in law school. He was teaching as an adjunct over in the business school. And he says to me, there's a department over there called Law and Public Policy. And there's a fellow going on leave. He's going to go do a visiting gig at another university. Would you be interested in a 1 year visiting appointment? Sure. So he says, give me your resume and I'll take it over. He did. I got the interview. I got the job for a 1 year
Nice.
visiting appointment. 35 years later, I retired. So somewhere along the way, they noticed I was still there. And I did those things you do as a professor. I did my research. I went through the ranks of professorships, and it all worked out great.
Is it funny just to think about how you can just stumble into things?
It's hysterical how it happens.
Yeah, like, I bring up my dad a lot just 'cause he
He's a great.
ha
Oh, your dad. I was
Yeah, oh,
thinking.
yeah.
I was thinking of your grandpa. He's a
Oh,
great
good.
example.
My grandpa's a great example. My dad's also a great example of kind of what you're talking about here is he in college, he was studying to do business. And one of his buddies just said, "Hey, I'm just taking a fun class of physical therapy. You should just do it with me. My dad had the extra time and extra credits that he needed for it. And it was one class that shifted his entire thinking, but it was just that interaction with his buddy at the time that totally shifted it. So it's crazy to think that the one interaction that you had of, hey, like, I can do this for you. Like, I can bring
I
your
can do this
resume
for you.
over. Yeah. Because why not? That 35 years later, just retiring to it. I think that's awesome. And it makes me just kind of wonder is with all that experience that you've had, how have you seen colleges and universities change over time in terms of even just the students themselves, but also the entity as a whole?
It's been an enormous change. And honestly, it has changed even more dramatically since I left. And I
How
can't,
so?
COVID happened.
Yeah.
Everything went online. We had a few random online courses. I didn't teach them. Somebody else did.
Sounds
Somebody who liked them.
yeah.
I mean, that's not my that's not my venue. You know,
Mhm.
I want to see you. I want to talk to you. I want to walk around the room. I want to throw chalk if that's we had chalkboards in those days. Um, so having been there, I was pretty young when I started because in fact, I was the youngest person on the faculty for a number of years. And it's because I went through a law program instead of a PhD. People get, if you've ever known anybody in a PhD program, they get bogged down, either by them, their advisors, the other faculty that hate their advisors. I mean, it's just awful. And in law school, you have to be done. At least I was in New York. And at least in New York, and it wouldn't surprise me if this was true everywhere. You had to be done. Well, the regular program's 3 years. The part-time program is 4 years,
Mm.
and you had to be done by then.
Uh,
Period.
That's not
No,
a lot of time even as a
that's not a lot of
part-time.
time. So I don't, I don't recall anymore. Drew, was it a bar requirement? To sit for the bar? Was it a accreditation issue? Oh, it's probably an accreditation issue. Come to think of it. Anyway, so I didn't get stuck with on a. Lots of my PhD colleagues got stuck on their dissertation, and then they'd change their topic, and then their advisor would leave, and they'd have to get a different. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can throw roadblocks up at you.
Mhm.
Um, Unlike the law program that says you're not done, we're done with you. So anyway, all of this is to say, I was pretty young when I started. I am a boomer, but I'm in the early part of the boomer years, and my first students were late boomers. So I went through boomers, Gen Y, millennials,
Mhm.
Z, X, Y, and Z. I don't know what comes after that. They should have started higher in the alphabet. Um, and it's trite to say, oh, boomers are like this and millennials are like that, but there's something to that. In fact, there was a book out that lots of my professor friends and I read about what the characteristics were because it mattered. They were coming to us.
Hmm.
They were coming to us at 18 or 20, and we kind of had to know, do they every one of them fit the mode? No, of course not. Absolutely not. But there was enough. So, for example, boomers are real goal oriented, very optimistic because they're right after the greatest generation. They're and things are good in the economy.
Yeah.
Um, and I liked I I liked the millennials because they liked teamwork, and other generations before and after hated it.
Interesting.
Well, it wasn't so much that they didn't like to work with people. They're pretty social animals. It was because, now I'm in a business school, let's bear in mind. It's because they were always afraid there was going to be one or two on the team who were slugs
Mm.
and let everybody else do the work.
Yeah, that is a big fear with any kind of group, I'm sure.
Anything, yes. Well, and if we were a little better, when I say we, I mean the college were a little better at getting them ready for that, we might have helped give them, teach them, show them skills that would let them negotiate that within their own team. But we just would, pull out the class roster, divide people up into teams, and say, "Go have at it."
Yeah.
And not in my class. I didn't do a lot of teamwork. I did some, but not a lot. But others, it was total, and there was a lot riding on it.
Hmm.
And I understand their frustration, but I wish we had been better about providing them with skills and information to help them negotiate it, rather than figure teamwork is just awful always. It's not.
Yeah, is that probably one of the biggest differences that you've seen kind of over the years is
For
the
sure.
boomers were more team
The
workers than
Well, the
after.
millennials were the team players.
Oh, the millennials were the team players.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And the boomers are pretty goal oriented, so they're used to going off on their own too.
Yeah.
Um, and then I liked the Zers too, because they had, again, everybody no, but they had an entrepreneurial spirit. Their parents were entrepreneurs. And my school's signature was entrepreneurship, and I taught the entrepreneurship law class. So
Hmm.
it was fun to have them. Whereas, excuse me for saying this, but whereas the accounting majors and the finance majors are sitting in the back of the room going, "Why am I doing this? I'm going to go work for one of the big." Oh, through my time, we started with a big eight. We got down to the final four. Um, so I'm going to go work for them, or I'm going to go to one of the big brokerage houses. What am I doing here?
Hmm.
Um, but others just kind of glommed onto it, and we even had I was terrible at this, by the way. um, we had a pitch competition with some real money behind it that the students could put together in teams, could put together a business plan, a business idea, and stand and deliver it to a bunch. Well, it started out, I was in the early rounds of that competition. Professors did the early rounds, and then business people, alums, entrepreneurs did the later rounds. And I mean, one of our ones. So this is all donations, right? But one of our ones had $10,000 associated with it.
Wow.
I mean, that's not nothing. So the capstone course was a business plan,
Hmm.
and it fit the signature of the school, but it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what do I know about the
I guess how has the school universities changed themselves?
well,
Because you mentioned that you wish there was more to help the kids in terms of that team aspect and learning that different people just have different work ethics.
right. And
So,
learning styles.
yeah,
That's the thing that a professor's got to figure out, is that I used to have classes of 50. You've got 50 people in the class, and you've probably got 4 or 5 learning styles sitting out there.
100%.
So you got
100%.
to change it up,
Yeah, so
right?
how much is it like the school changing the way things are done versus just the
The
professors?
professor in the classroom, it's the professor. We are our own little independent contractors. It is the strangest job in the world. I used to tell others outside of, not in the club. I used to tell others, I don't have a boss.
That is true.
Well, how about the dean? He can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, I mean, you can teach pretty much whatever. And do your own style of the way things should be done. Because we had this like grade distribution system at uh, NC State, and
Is
it
it a
would tell
forced curve?
what.
Is it a forced curve?
No, no, it just showed like what kids got the previous semester. And
Oh,
it is
okay.
amazing how like some classes, they most people might be at like C like B's and C's, but then you might have like a few kids that are at A's. And this has happened even with myself where one class, a lot of people might struggle, but I'm like, this is my teaching style, so I can excel. How hard is it for you to try and, I guess, make sure everyone gets what they need out of it? Because you
Well, you
obviously have your
can't.
own teaching style, but everyone has their own learning style at the same time.
Well, you can't. And you don't have, I never had a, I'm not even sure it exists. It probably does. I never had like I had little tests for them to take on day one that would show me who had what learning style.
Oh,
I
really?
couldn't,
How'd you do
no,
that?
I mean, I don't know how to do that.
D-
So I just made sure, uh, coming out of the law school tradition, in those days, if it was the old, you're too young to remember this, the old Kingsfield paper chase view where a scary professor stands up and lectures for an hour and a half and asks you questions as in, you know, when did where were you on the night? The very, very accusatory questions. What is the issue in the case? And you're going, and they're cold
That's
calls.
intense.
It's really intense. That doesn't play well, one, with undergraduates, and two, as the generations were changing. So I'm not going to do that, but I'm used to the lecture, right?
Yeah.
I'm an oral, A-U-R-E, oral learner. Probably had to be, right?
Hmm.
But boy, lots of people sure aren't. So I made sure I'm talking, there's visual stuff up. I'm trying to generate discussion amongst members of the class. I
Yeah.
didn't get them all. I really didn't. And the guy in the back with the baseball cap on backwards, I can't get to him. I just can't.
It's probably impossible to get to everyone in the
Everybody.
class.
That's right.
And it'd be probably very fortunate to do so. And I'm just thinking in my head is, even depending on the level of class too, freshmen, everyone's probably really excited to be in college. And so they're like, oh, this is probably such cool stuff. Let's try and engage. And then kind of as you get on, I feel like definitely me as a senior, I was like, just give me my
Just let
diploma.
me know.
Just get me
Yes,
done.
that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, the other thing is, and I used to say this to my students, not individually, maybe I did, but also to my class. I said, guys, you got to understand college is hard.
Mm.
You were all top of your class, near the top of your class to get into this university. Everybody here was top of their class too.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking of some of the universities you were at in terms of even just Michigan itself, of being a elite Big Ten school.
Yeah,
Like that's incredibly hard to get into. Not many people even get into that school. And so, yeah, you'd want people to be engaged. And I just had this kind of question that popped in my head is, when you're teaching the material and you know that someone's either progressing to the next class of business law or
mhm,
whatever it is,
mhm.
do you have to correlate with other professors of what material you're teaching at this level to then have them move on to the next? Or is there that gap that is there and that people have been working on for years to kind of like correlate
Well,
with one another?
remember, I don't have a boss, right?
That's true.
Now, the very good news is I had a wonderful department and we liked each other for the most part. We talked to each other all the time.
Yeah.
We felt like we were wandering in the wilderness because we were the odd people out in a business school. This is true at I know most of the business law professors at most of the universities in the country, at least I did. And everybody faces the same thing. So we hang together because nobody else thinks what we do is valuable. So we did talk. Did we coordinate as in lockstep? Certainly not. But there was enough. The courses were discrete enough. As long we all taught the basic course, the required course, and we were pretty clear on what we were doing there. Although it was different from what other schools were, slightly different from what other schools were doing. And what the challenge was, because we talked all the time and we kind of knew what we were doing, sort of. I hope so. But we'd hire somebody as a visitor, or we'd hire somebody as an adjunct, and they'd say, "What book do you use? And where's the syllabus?" We didn't have a universal text or syllabus. That was probably a bad idea. We actually loved our independence, but that was probably a bad idea for the students.
Just because they might not be digesting the same material.
Exactly. I mean, we were convinced, rightly or wrongly, we were convinced we were doing the same concepts. We were convinced we were not teaching a traditional business law class. We didn't want to do that. Did we meet that goal? I really don't know. But when you get somebody new coming in who has nary a clue and says, "Hand me the book and hand me the syllabus," and we got nothing to give them, I realized, this may not be the best idea in the world. But then the next class, the accountants were the only accounting majors were the only ones that had to take a second class in order to sit for the CPA exam. And that was a traditional business law class. It's kind of a run through the curriculum of law school.
Yeah, because everyone has to
Everybody has
get the
to
CPA.
take this. Well, unless you don't want to be a CPA. But at my school, their professors were telling them, you want to go with a big A.
And that's just because you get that bigger bonus salary, all that stuff. You get more access to the higher level managerial stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And my school, Drew, we were in upstate New York, hundreds of miles away from New York City.
Yeah.
But most of our students came from New York, Long Island, New Jersey. They're going back to New York to work for a big 8 or a big 5 or, whatever the number was when they.
Yeah.
Because that's what their professors are talking to them about. That's what they know. They want to go to New York. I mean, really, they want to go to New York. They're going to live 6 to an apartment because it's so expensive. But so they had to take that. But we were, again, lucky. We had an array of courses. I had the entrepreneurship course. There was a business organizations course. There was an HR course. What do you want? We got it.
Yeah. I guess that in my head, though, when I hear that you guys had different curriculum for kind of each of the business law classes, like you didn't have a assigned syllabus and book. To me, in my head, yeah, there's the disadvantage of people learning different things, but doesn't that kind of create more conversation with students of different classes and what they're learning about? Because business law is just, all my friends say it's probably one of the hardest classes at NC State just because there's so much in-depth knowledge to learn about. So wouldn't it be better in a sense to converse about the different aspects of it?
That was our philosophy. I know that class at NC State. I used to know the people that taught it. It is a traditional business law class. And we tried real hard not to teach that. Here's what we said we were teaching. I hope we did, but we were teaching concepts. We were teaching critical thinking. We were teaching, kind of writing, the persuasive writing and speaking, and the underpinnings of the legal system and how it works.
Yeah. So I guess then what's wrong with that approach to things versus
Nothing.
the very traditional?
I did it for 35 years. It was perfect as far as I was concerned. but
Yeah.
it was a little off the main drag.
Okay. Then why don't you think more people do that then? More departments?
Hmm. Well, I have been in 3 other schools besides Syracuse,
Yeah.
and Wharton did not teach uh, yes, they did. More traditional business law. Michigan, not so much. Indiana, yes. Indiana, all the professors at Indiana had co-authored a book. It was huge. It was bigger than a phone book. And I mean, they all used it. Of course, everywhere I went, they all used the same book. I don't know
Yeah.
what we were thinking, but um, I don't know. I mean, there's other way. You don't have to do it our way to emphasize critical thinking, persuasive writing,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
I totally understand that. I was just more curious because you had worked at different universities. If you're finding that kids were learning from a better approach, whether that was the more traditional route or that's kind of what you guys were instilling into the students, I guess you could say.
Honestly, Drew, I don't know. I'd go in for a year or a semester and go away. What happened to them afterwards? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I
I
get
never
that.
got any feedback from my colleagues at any of those schools that said, boy, you really screwed up. But they also, remember, handed me a book, right?
Yeah, I just always found that to be so interesting of how curriculums change from school to school. And with all your experience, I was more curious on that aspect because it is kind of exciting to know that education's different at other places.
Oh, yeah.
And I hear a lot about how, and some of the guests I've had on, one being Dan Bresingham, he mentioned that school very much teaches you the thinking aspects and the collaboration aspects of working with different people.
Hmm.
And I was wondering what your thoughts were on that and how maybe schools you learn some of the material, but it's very much the people skills and the critical thinking aspects that you were mentioning earlier.
I'm a big proponent of that. The when you said my friends hate business law, it's so hard. They're learning discrete facts.
Yeah.
That's going to be gone 6 months after they're out of the class. No kidding. I mean, if you don't use it every day,
Really?
who the heck's going to hang on to that?
You got a good point.
What are the 6 elements of a contract? Um, so the content's important in your specific area. I do want the accounting students to learn accounting,
Hmm.
but I also want them to learn to think, and I also want them to gain some perspective on looking at financial statements. It isn't just debits by the window, credits by the door.
Yeah.
That's what I took. I took accounting in law school. I was a history major, for crying out loud.
You were
I
a
had
history
never had,
major?
I had never had a business course in my life. And I took accounting in law school because there was a course cleverly called Accounting for Lawyers.
Oh, easy enough.
Because when I went to law school, people were typically poli-sci majors, econ majors, history majors. There was a fellow in my class. We remained friends because he stayed in Syracuse, as did I.
Mm.
A fellow in my class who had a CPA. He was like a strange duck. He had a CPA. Who's got that?
That's awesome. That's
But
awesome.
I'm sure that's all different now.
Oh, I'm sure. I can only imagine how much things have changed. Just I'm sure things are even going to change in the next year or so, just
Well,
depending
I'm
on.
also sure that they don't have the Professor Kingsfields of the world in front of a law school class. I mean, students will not stand for that kind of um, shaking down individuals, making them stand up, asking that students don't take that anymore.
No, no. And I
So you
guess,
asked about, I want to come back to something. You asked
yeah.
about differences between schools. Please know that any business school you've ever heard of probably is accredited by the accrediting body AACSB, American something Schools and Colleges of Business, American Association of Schools and Colleges of Business. That's the accrediting body. That has very clear guidelines about, well, like JD counts as a terminal degree, is in there.
Hmm.
And accounting is in there, law is in there. So it isn't like you can teach physical therapy in a business school.
Yeah.
Well, you could, but it'd have to be an elective. You'd have to teach the other stuff too.
Hmm.
And then these guys, these AACSB guys, show up I can't even remember. It seemed like every year, but it was not. Maybe every 5 years to reestablish your accreditation and make sure you were doing
Hmm. I guess, what does that do? Like, do you just pass your accreditation,
that.
or
You do. And it's supposed, it's like a good housekeeping seal,
okay.
right?
So kind of like the restaurants, you know how they have now, oh, it's this percent sanitary level and it's been approved by so and so
I
company.
don't know that. We don't have that here.
Oh, well, in North Carolina, so in restaurants or haircut places or anything that you walk in now, there's this sanitation level. And it'll be like you're at a 96 or whatever, and it's
Right.
approved.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like that when you talk about the accreditation aspect? It's like, all right, you're teaching the curriculum that you need to be teaching for this class. So kudos to you. Like, you get to keep your,
You get to keep your accreditation.
okay.
And if you go to the opening page of any college of business anywhere that is a CSB accredited, it will say so on the opening page because it says,
Huh.
look, we meet a standard, a national standard that all the schools you've ever heard about also meet.
Hmm.
Now, not every business school is AACSB accredited, and I've been out of it so long now, there was an alternate accreditation body. I'm guessing they don't exist anymore. I'm guessing they got swallowed up by
Okay.
AACSB because what I saw, I had a real good inside view of AACSB because I was the liaison there for my professional association.
Nice.
And I saw them kind of reshaping a little bit to accommodate, to preempt. I can't even remember the other group's name, but the other group's standards. And so if I were a school accredited by the other group, I might say, hey, why don't we go over there? People
Mm.
know AACSB. They Not so many know this one. So I think AACSB did a hostile takeover.
And so they evaluate your department.
The whole school.
Oh, they evaluate the whole school. So do they
Your
walk
courses,
into,
how many terminally qualified professors you have, how many
oh,
students in a class.
oh,
I mean,
okay.
it's a year-long process.
Oh, see, I was thinking like someone comes in for a day and is evaluating it, but that makes so much more sense that it's a year long. Okay.
Well, you're providing documentation for a
Yeah.
year, and then a bunch of somebody's come in. I think it's a week. Come in for
Oh,
a week. It's the last step.
a little high stress level week then.
No, we don't care. Yeah, no.
Oh, no.
Actually, it makes the dean sweats a lot.
Because
And
that's a
then
reflection on him.
and the dean and all the associate deans sweat a lot, but they do try to put the people coming in, the visiting team, with some actual professors.
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
I'm sure they hand pick who those are.
Huh. Like, I've honestly, I'm unfamiliar with ACCSB. To be honest, I don't think I've heard about it until now.
Why
So
would you? You don't care.
that is true. I guess, like, in my position, it wouldn't matter to me, but it would
It
matter
doesn't
for,
matter to you at all. But I'll bet your group has an accrediting body.
Yeah. What would happen if someone didn't pass it? Like, what would qualify someone to not, or like a school not to pass it? And what would happen to it?
I
Like, if
can
they
tell
had
you.
one and then, oh,
I
okay.
can tell you. Witnessed it firsthand. One time, and I don't know who was who was driving the bus at the time, but one time we didn't show well something. I think we probably could have, but we didn't. And we were put on probation for a year.
And what does that mean to
Well,
be
it
on
meant
probation?
we couldn't say we were accredited. We had to be honest and say we're on probation for a year, and we re-upped the next year and made it. But the parents went crazy.
I can't even imagine
I'm at
the
a
public.
private institution where tuition is clearly way north of $10,000 a year. They went crazy.
Yeah, I can only imagine just parents being like, "You guys put yourself to such a high standard. You guys didn't make it."
You didn't make it.
And how much does that? Did you notice the difference of people transferring out, or like, did you know the numbers at all?
I don't know the numbers at all. I did hear a lot of, we're going to transfer.
Wow.
Did they go? I don't know. I tell you what, you lose. I don't care what you say. Even AACSB accredited school to AAC, you lose credits when you do that.
Wow.
I'm not ever, unless you've got it in writing that they'll take all your credits.
And do you think this like will affect people getting employed too? So let's say the year that they graduate, the school is no longer certified.
It is on probation. I
And
don't know. Probably.
because I wonder if employers are saying, "Oh my God, oh my goodness, like you went to a school that's not accredited. How can I trust the knowledge that you have if you're
Yep.
not accredited?"
Fair. And the employers certainly know about the accreditation.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I'm
And
sure.
then maybe they didn't ask that year that we were on probation, but if they did, we had to tell them the truth.
Yeah. I know this is gonna be totally sidetracking, but in the whole world of business that you've been a part of, how come you started out in history, or what was the kind of changing point to go from history over?
There are some in North Carolina. Did my undergraduate work at one of those elite liberal arts colleges, small. There's no business degree there, nor would I have ever thought of one.
Yeah.
It's a liberal arts college. It's a Carleton, if you know Carleton in Minnesota. Let me think of a North Carolina version. Can you think of one?
Honestly, I can't think of one at the top of my head, but I understand what you're saying though in
It's
terms
a
of liberal art.
Williams College, if you know the Northeast. It's a Williams
Okay.
College. It's Wellesley, a Smith.
Wesley, yeah,
Yeah,
that one.
yeah, yeah.
My grandma went to Wesley.
Not Wesley, Wellesley,
Oh, see,
the
then that's
sister, the
different.
seventh sister. So you go there. I mean, you're not going to be a business major. Although my undergraduate school has just put in a business major, and
Huh.
I went, really? You did that, and I know why. Right? Students and parents are saying, so what kind of jobs are they going to get? The
Mhm.
last thing on my mind when I entered college is, what kind of job am I going to get?
Hmm. Just more going because wanted to
I was
go.
going because in my friend group and economic strata, you went to college. It
Yeah.
wasn't exactly a well thought out decision. You went to college. Boom. Pick one.
Which is just crazy at like I say it a lot too is at 18 because everyone just goes. You have no idea what you're doing, nor like any application to what you're doing, especially as a freshman. You're learning intro level classes, and then by the time you get to the application stuff, you're at a junior, you might get exposed as a sophomore, and then you're just saying if you don't like it after 2-3 years, oh my goodness, I guess I'm kind of just stuck in here because I only got one more year left. It's amazing how much that can happen. And how come then after you went to law school, were you exposed to it? Was it something you wanted to do?
Didn't know a lawyer. Had never met a lawyer in my life.
Wow.
Um, here was the thinking at the time. It was the late 60s, early 70s. The world was blowing up. The Vietnam War was on high alert and then backing off.
Yeah.
And I had that conversation because I had learned to think and do critical analysis in my liberal arts education. I said, okay, if you want to change things, and I did, do you want to change with inside the system or outside the system? And being a firstborn and a boomer, I said I picked inside.
Mm.
And the only way I could think of to do that, short of going into politics, was to go to law school. So I did.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And this is also going to sidetrack again because I wanted to go back to the thought of like the application piece is how can schools implement more of the application piece of careers into schools? Because I find that to be very hard to do in turn like so I do GIS and that's all visual mapping. I took classes with it, but the breadth of it and what I do now as a career is so much more vast than what I learned in my undergrad. I know it's very hard to cover things in the undergrad. Like everyone says that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh,
But how how can schools outside of career fairs and maybe like public speakers implement more of those aspects?
well, a lot of schools are either highly encouraging or requiring internships.
Okay. Like each year?
No,
Okay.
well, I mean, every school does its own thing. When we went from highly encouraging to requiring. By the end, it was requirement.
Yeah.
Now, these are mixed blessings, I gotta tell you, because you quickly created classes of people. There were paid internships, there were unpaid internships. There were internships that had some substance to them. There were internships where people sat in an office or did the boss's paperwork.
Yeah.
So it was not a routine experience for everyone, but it gets them out of the classroom. It gets them into a work environment. Yes, dear, you have to be there at 9 o'clock. No kidding around. And my colleague who taught the traditional business law class that one the accounting students had to take the second one, she always held her class at 8 a.m. The students hated it. Absolutely hated it. But she got a number of calls, and they all went to big, whatever the number was that year, accounting firms. And she would get a number of calls. Professor, 8 a.m.'s looking real good to me now. They had to be in way earlier.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to be, but they needed to be sitting at desks when the bosses showed up,
Mm-hmm.
or they felt they did,
Which is good because
which is good.
you would want to implement the skills now that you can. It's just, I find it just so difficult to cram or even try and teach the information in, what is it, 3 months, 4 months of a semester that people spend their entire career on. And so that's where I'm more curious about the application aspects, even to a classroom setting, like
Well,
outside an internship.
I'm old-fashioned enough that I don't think that's what we should be doing in college.
Okay.
But students and parents don't think that anymore. They want the graduate to be ready to go day one.
Yeah. Versus giving them maybe more of the thinking skills that you said and those skill assets versus teaching them probably more rudimentary thinking of, oh, you're exposed to all this stuff. Boom. Then you kind of already know, and this is
Yeah.
how you're going to do it.
Yeah. And you're on
Okay.
your own. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because I've never heard that perspective before. Because, yeah, that is what a lot of people want now is like, I just want to be ready.
Yes.
But the
Oh, yes.
thinking skills is probably more important than.
Well, I believe that. But remember, I come from a liberal arts tradition. Teaching all those years in a business school was a big comeuppance for me. I wasn't used to all these people thinking that job application should be job one.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they get a lot of messages both from professors, parents, employers that, yeah, you need to be ready.
I totally understand that.
Mhm.
Totally understand that. And I guess over your career, what was the most rewarding aspect for you of being a professor?
There's a number, but it's the kids.
Yeah. More just seeing them develop or what aspect of it?
Oh, yeah, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, not all of them. They're amazing. Eager, um, optimistic mostly. We had one generation that wasn't so optimistic, but it was the times. I mean, I don't blame them.
Mm-hmm.
They keep you young,
That's awesome.
and they
That's
teach you
awesome.
stuff.
Oh,
I
yeah, I'm
learned
sure.
about movies from them. Oh, professor, have you seen? Here's my favorite. I don't know where I was when this came out, but oh, professor, have you seen My Cousin Vinny? No. Oh,
Oh,
you gotta see it. I must have seen it 10 times since then.
it's a great movie. Great movie.
Honestly, never would have fallen on that myself.
I just love when Vinny's going in on everyone on trial and like the lady with the glasses, and he goes, "This is like 50 feet. How many fingers am I holding up?" And then the judge says, "I think that's one of my favorite scenes from that movie."
Oh, I like the magic grits scene.
Yeah, I did it in 5 minutes. Well, is it
Are
magic
they
grits?
magic grits?
That's awesome. Well, Fran, I really do appreciate you being on the episode today. It means a lot, and it was great to hear your story, and I'm sure it'll resonate with a lot of people.
Thanks for doing this, Drew.
Hey, everyone. Want to take a quick second and say thank you to whoever listened to the episode today. I really do appreciate it, and it means a lot. If you did like the episode, make sure to give it a like or 5-star rating, depending on what platform you are listening to. And if you really want to support the show, check out our website or Patreon link below. Thank you, and I'll catch you in the next episode.